Hello everyone. I hope you guys can see me and hear me. All right, let me check if I'm live. Yes. I am very much live, guys. A very warm welcome to the class. I really hope that everyone is doing absolutely well. And before I begin, I would request everyone to join the Telegram group. The link has been given, and at the same time, we have also given you a scan code which you can scan and join the group. Now, this group is going to be a one stop solution for a lot of things. You will get to interact with the teachers, you will get your notes from here, you will get updates regarding the classes, and a lot more. So, do not wait up and do become a part of this group. All right. Okay, guys. So I think we should start. Let's get started. So if you all remember, in the last class when we were discussing about the religious aspect of later Vedic period, I told you something about the untouchables. And when I told you about the untouchables, at the same time, I also told you about the rise of Buddhism and Jainism because of the existence of untouchables. So, untouchables were basically those people who were marginalized, who were not given any rights in the society. They were made to do the most of the menial task and not even respected for it. And as a reaction to this, we have the coming in of Jainism and Buddhism, which basically offered them the equality or the representation which was needed, which was needed, and hence today we will be covering that aspect of the later Vedic civilization. So today we will be talking about Buddhism and Jainism. सो लेट्स स्टार्ट हम लोग शुरू करते हैं फटाफट से सो let's try to understand how Buddhism first discovered. Obviously, people did not know what Buddhism was, people did not understand its teachings, so there was a way in which Buddhism must have been discovered. And as the first archaeological source to be discovered of Buddhism was this stupa called the Sanchi. Let's talk about it. Okay. So, I'm sorry. So, 19th century Europeans, the French and the English, they were very much interested in the stupa at Sanchi. They, in fact, also took Shah Jahan's Begum permission, who was then the ruler of Bhopal. Please remember this. Because they wanted to take away the eastern gateway, which was well preserved. The stupa has four gateways in four cardinal directions, and these people were very much interested in taking away that eastern gateway because it was very beautifully preserved. They wanted to take it to France. Some of the Englishmen wanted to do the same thing. But fortunately, Shah Jahan Begum did not allow them to do so, and they had to make sure they had to do with plaster cast copies, and the original remained in the place, in the state of Bhopal itself. Again, this is a very important question, guys, that where is Sanchi located? Sanchi is located in Bhopal, so you should remember that. Now, Shah Jahan Begum and her successor, Sultan Jahan Begum, they both provided money for the preservation of the ancient site. And John Marshall, who was doing his research on the Sanchi Stupa, he also dedicated, when he wrote down his research, he dedicated that research to Sultan Jahan Begum. She also funded the building of the museum and the guest house where John Marshall lived, and he wrote down his research. He did his research there. So Sati survived because of the decisions taken by the rulers, and because it was saved from the eyes of the railway contractors and the builders, who did not decide to carry away the bricks or the stones from there to the museums. So just take a look at all the aspects and let me know if you have any doubts here. All right, moving ahead. Okay. So, guys, as I had told you, I had already, I think I've already completed this in the last class itself. So, I had told you that how the sacrificial tradition had become very important, particularly during the later Vedic age, isn't it? And earlier, the sacrifices were performed collectively in the family, but now the sacrifices were being performed by whom? Now, the sacrifices were being performed by the head of the household, particularly, they were performed by the men of the household. And it was also performed by the chief and the kings and the Brahmins or the priests, who are the one who superseded these rituals, who basically conducted these rituals. Fine. So you can see how Brahmins are becoming important, how the priesthood is becoming important, how it is becoming hereditary, how they are becoming rich, all of that is happening. And at the same time, we also have the kings who are becoming more and more dependent on the Brahmins for their secular and non-secular purposes. So, this was the background in which we will trace the coming in of Buddhism and Jainism. Because, guys, earlier what happened? Let me just trace this for you. In the early Vedic age, sacrifices were performed by the entire family together. And by family, I mean everyone, women, men, women, everyone. In the later Vedic age, sorry, now it was performed by the men of the household, and mostly the priests would play a very important role, and the rituals have actually become very, very, very elaborate also. It has become much more about money than about faith and God and bhakti. So as a reaction, we will see the rise of Buddhism एंड जैनिज्म. इन्होंने कहा कि कोई यज्ञ होगा ही नहीं. They did not believe in yagyas, or they did not believe in sacrificial performances. They did not believe in any of that. So now this was something which could be done by anyone. All right. So that's what we're talking about. I hope this is clear with everyone. And if you have any doubts, you can ask. Okay. So I think this is quite clear. So let's move ahead. हम आगे बढ़ते हैं. Okay. So let's talk about the debates and questions that were there in Buddhism and Jainism both. Now, Buddhist texts mention as many as 64 schools of thought. You have to remember this. This is a very important thing. You might get this in your question. So, Buddhism refers to around 64 schools of thought. Now, schools of thought का मतलब क्या होता है? Schools of thought means how you understand the world. Okay, what is your understanding of the world? Let me write this down for you. So, what is your understanding of the world? All right, that is what it means here. That is what it means here by the 64 schools of thought. Now, there were different people who followed different, who basically ascribed to this school of thought. So, travelers or teachers, they travel from one place to another. They would try to convince one another, they would try to convince common people about their philosophy of life or how they understood the world. Now, these debates could take place in Kotagrashala, which was like a pointed hut where the traveling medicants would basically stay, they would rest, they would halt, and sometimes it could take place in open orchards or in gardens like that. Okay. So now, if one philosopher, so philosopher had a number of followers, and the other philosopher also had a number of followers. So they would try to convince one another of their philosophy, and if the other one if one person if one group convinces the other group about their philosophy, the other group has to become a part of the first group. So I'll just explain this to you. Suppose there is medicant A and there's medicant B. Medicant A has 10 followers and Medicant B has 20 followers. Medicant A is trying to convince Medicant B of his way of life, and Medicant A जो है वो जीत जाता है. If he wins, alright, then all the followers of Medicant B will become the followers of Medicant A. Alright, so that is what they're saying here, and this is what they mean by saying that followers could either grow or shrink over time. Now, both Buddha and Mahavir questioned the authority of the Vedas. Fine. Why were they questioning the authority of the Vedas? Actually, guys, they were not questioning the authority of the Veda. They were actually trying to question the malpractices that had come up in the later Vedic age. They were questioning the later Vedic age. They were not questioning the authority of the Vedas here. And most importantly, they said that none of the rituals and all will help you attain salvation or liberation. No. What can help you attain salvation? And that is individual agency. Means your individual karmas, your karam will decide whether you will attain liberation. Okay, whether you will attain liberation from trials and tribulations of worldly existence. कि क्या आपको इस दुनिया से जितनी भी चीज़ें हैं, इस दुनिया में जितनी भी चीज़ें हैं, क्या उससे आपको मुक्ति मिल सकती है? So the trials and tribulations of a life would only end. How? How will it end? If you focus on your individual agency, if you focus on your karmas. So that's what they mean by saying that you have to focus on your karmas. Okay, so let me know if you have any doubts still here. If there's anything that you have not understood, you can please let me know. एंड गाइज यहाँ पे काफ़ी बारिश जो है वो स्टार्ट हो चुकी है. तो अगर आपको लगता है कि अगर आपको हो सकता है कभी बीच में लैग महसूस हो या ऐसा कुछ हो, तो प्लीज़ मुझे बताइएगा दैट यू फेसिंग दिस लैग. Okay, so I'll be able to help you with it. I'll just do one thing, guys. I'll just see if my Wi-Fi is working fine.